You're listening to Technically PvP, a podcast about player versus player in the world of Warcraft.
For the glory of Stormwind! Victory or death!
It's September the 4th, 2018, and you are listening to Technically PvP, a podcast where we analyze the various aspects of player versus player in the game, World of Warcraft. Hey, I'm Gerissar, a PvP apprentice, and on behalf of Andallyn and Winstead, who unfortunately can't make it tonight, welcome to the show! It is also my pleasure to introduce a guest co-host tonight, Taco. Hey, Taco, why don't you say hey and let everybody know about yourself?
What's going on? Taco. Been playing WoW for the past 5 years. Interested in podcasting, so just wanted to jump in and see what's going on.
Well, hey, welcome to the show, and it is our pleasure to have you also join us. And hopefully this turns into something bigger and better than just today. But we'll see.
Definitely.
It's but wait, there is more. We also have Elbareth joining us today from GCDTV. Hey, bud.
Yo, what's up? I'm Elbareth, obviously, from GCDTV. I am the co-owner and head producer over there, and I'm happy to be here for my second time.
I was actually reminiscing on that. I went back and listened to our episode 7 when you were last on, and I find it very, very appropriate because the last time I talked to you, it was September 2 years ago, and Legion Season 1 had just opened.
Oddly familiar.
Yeah, it's exactly. Here we are. It's September, and Legion or BfA Season 1 almost opened, but we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that.
So close.
Oh, all right. But hey, we're going to go into what we normally do at the beginning of every episode is talk about what we've been up to in World of Warcraft and perhaps a little bit of life. So I guess, Andallyn, what have you been up to the last couple weeks, man?
Hey, I'm here, and I think I'm super excited for this. I've been waiting so long for the PvP stuff to come out. We've been waiting for all sorts of different, raid content now. There's all sorts of different things to do now, and it's been really exciting. Unfortunately, I guess I won't be doing RBGs tonight, but that's okay. But let's see. I've been bouncing around different areas. Just got home today from a nice little visit back home, and so really excited. It was just such a nice little weekend, just to be able to have off, spend time with the fam. Hadn't seen him in a while, so right. But as far as like in-game stuff, I've just been working on gearing out my paladin, and we're cooking, man. Should be catching 340s plus item level here, after I click on a few question marks. Hopefully, I'm gonna roll the dice on some good Azerite pieces. So wish me luck on that.
Nice. Good luck. Those Azerite armor caches are pretty good.
I'm trying to get a chest piece, man. I need it. So yeah, but it's been good.
Have you only been working on your paladin, or have you been actually trying some alts at the same time?
No. What I'll do is I'll stick with the paladin, and I'll put up the paladin alt when I need to. But I've kind of found out there's a really cool way to enjoy PvP while leveling. You get a good amount of experience doing skirmishes and different stuff like that. So I might be missing my good window to be able to take full advantage of that, because that's my kind of way to level, man. I'd rather play skirms as opposed to questing. I'll do the questing once, but just the repetitiveness of that is it kind of gets to me a little bit. I'm just like, geez. So I try to stick with one tune,
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I feel like I did the same thing. I leveled just my warlock. I did hop on my priest to do a little disc priesting, but for the most part, I just stayed on the warlock. I hear you. I've heard about the same thing with doing random BGs, and doing skirms was a great way to earn experience. But I didn't see anybody actually getting any gear doing that, and so I question how that would work out towards, especially after 116 when your legendaries all got turned off, if that was still a viable way without actually earning any new gear to offset the power depreciation you get as you level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, might be a little difficult. I know, like a couple people did that where they would level up just doing PvP, and by the time they would get to 120, it was so easy for them to be able to kind of like say, "Hey, we'll just take you in on a few mythics." That it's like, everyone's geared to the teeth now in 340 plus. That we are just rolling people through mythics on their alts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it was no big deal. So,
right.
but yeah, that's a valid point. If you're not doing that where that's not a possibility for you, then
you're kind of under geared by the time you reach 120. All right. Well, how about Elbareth? What have you been up to this last couple weeks, man?
Last couple weeks. Well, a lot of prep for the fall season here of AWC. A lot of behind the scenes work, and making sure everything's set because we're about to have a crazy season leading up to BlizzCon. And then BfA release, I was caught in the doomed Tyke failures. So I was very late getting on and actually leveling, but I did manage to get 120 in about 13, 14 hours, which is fine. And shortly after that, my PC kind of died on me and a lot of real life stuff caught up, including work. So we kind of took a break on the WoW front there, but yeah. Might level another tune. Shadow Priest is not the best right now, and not having too much fun, but we'll be good. Excited for the arena season to start because I can actually do some things in the Shadow Priest. But yeah, we're kind of waiting on that still, huh?
Yeah. Ouch. Sucks to hear that your computer died. It sounds like it was at the right time though. If you needed to pay attention to job and life at the same time, so nice to have that distraction removed.
Actually, and I'm not too far behind. I mean, it's just gearing and stuff, gearing and rep, but whatever. We'll be back.
Easy.
Yeah, really easy stuff, and AWC stuff is a bigger priority than my Shadow Priest at the moment. So we're happy to take a break.
How are you feeling about that stuff? How are we looking as for like so this is going to be the first launch of BFA's seasons of AWC Cups. So is there anything that we could expect to be different other than just a new expansion?
Whoa. You're ruining half the show right at the beginning, man.
No spoilers.
See, man, Winstead left, and now
let's at least get through the intro first before we get to the meat and potatoes.
I'm gonna pump the brakes.
All right. Yeah. Get back in your corner. All right.
Heal.
All right. Let's just we'll put a pin in that one. But let's ask Taco. What have you been up to these last couple of weeks, buddy?
Struggling on my Death Knight. Struggling playing Frost Death Knight. I just got to like 3. Well, yeah. I feel like I died and it's just not as fun. It's just not as fun. I feel like the gameplay of it is just like stack Icy Talons and pray to God you have enough runes to Frost Strike someone. And like I'm like nice, like averagely geared 330, and I like with Icy Talons up, trinkets proccing, and like a bunch of stuff going on. I crit like 7k highest, maybe 8.
Wow.
And it's kind of like annoying.
Okay.
And it's like back to back, and then like a warrior comes out of nowhere, or I don't know if you guys saw like the shuriken like bug that's going out with like the 100k shuriken hits, the shuriken toss, and then like that happens. So I'm kind of frustrating. I'm leveling up a feral druid just because that's always been fun, but right now it's kind of looking like I'm probably gonna stay with the Frost Death Knight and tough it out.
Okay. I have heard Unholy is a bit more fun.
Yeah,
I think somebody else said Unholy.
I've mained a lock for most of my WoW life, so like managing a pet is like giving me PTSD sometimes. I wanted to just face roll.
Fair.
I needed to see.
All right.
I just wanted to focus on killing someone.
No worries. No, I know you mean though. I heard the same thing from other people about Death Knight, where the the RNG just kind of had to line up, or it just felt, and it just didn't feel as good as it did back in Legion. And I'm not sure if it's just how the GCDs line up or
it definitely has something to do with it. Just because like for us, you need to just be like, there's procs happening all the time, and like you should just be like, melting people. But it's feeling a little on the clunky side, even though it's not. I don't know even how to explain it. Just with this GCD thing is really messing me up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel the same way actually on my Warlock. Like I'm pushing buttons and it's like I push them and it's too soon. So I'm like pushing the same like dot like 2-3 times until finally I see the dot come up, and then I do other things, and then I push a button and it's like I go to do something else. I'm like, what? Why did that? Still on GCD. Okay. Anyway, I think it's a matter of needing to slow down the reaction time. My muscles are too used to just pushing buttons and having things happen.
Exactly.
So
we got Elbareth here. You shouldn't be blaming GCD for so much stuff.
Dude.
It's not their fault.
It's not our fault.
Come on, man.
It's actually funny you say that because, I check mentions on Twitter and stuff like that, and people complain so much about the GCD change, and it's popping up on our GC Twitter feed, and I'm just like, whoa, like you have to kind of think like, okay, this is not about us. It's about the game. But yeah, it's leading up to BfA. It's been a nightmare there for the mentions because we're just seeing so much GCD stuff. I'm like, guys, it's not us. Don't blame us, please.
Stop. We're just here to administrate, guys. Stop blaming us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about what else is coming up, at least for PvP.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
Indeed. So there's actually nothing new compared to the last couple times we've talked. Everything else we've already said. There's the 6v6 RBG League that is going on through Resurgent Esports. That should be starting soon, I'm hoping.
Yeah, right now we're just gathering interest, and we don't have an actual date of when we're going to do that, and I don't think we're going to try to rush to put out an actual date, just so that we're going to give people plenty of time to be ready for before it starts. But because it's going to be open entry throughout the entire like season, if you will, of 6v6 play, we're going to try and keep it open. So fair enough. Then people kind of get settled in the season 1 for BfA, figure out what they're comfortable on, and get a feel for something before we throw them into 6v6 games. It's a little
at least let people kind of figure out what the meta's actually going to be and get that sorted out. Let's hear. So the fall cups, the cup number 1 are up on Battlefy. Thank you very much for doing that, Elb. So the EU Cup, which is signups closed out yesterday, and are going to actually seed the brackets next week, if I'm reading this right. Mm-hmm. But we have a total of 23 teams, which is fantastic for the start of that cup. And then right on the heels of...
One of which is a Resurgent team, I might add.
Oh, which one's that?
Which yours truly would like to be a part of, but unfortunately will be out of town. And I'm not going to bring my full PC rig to a 3-day trip, so.
Oh, you're talking over on the NA side?
On the NA side, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I just got to the first
sorry,
was no worries. Like, geez, there's a Resurgent on EU. All right, so there's 23 teams over on the EU side, and there's 29 teams that have signed up on the NA Cup side, which is also closed for sign up, and we're going to wait for the bracket seeding next week. So that's awesome. That's a lot of games, but. Hopefully we'll be able to get through all that, and we'll have some phenomenal final 8 teams to see who comes out on top for cup number 1.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. Mm-hmm. We have basically both these cups are going to be running simultaneously in terms of offline games, so there'll be a lot of work and a lot of action heavy on in the week, and then obviously we split the broadcast days up so our Europe fans and the NA fans can watch their respective regions, and then it's going to be a good fall leading up to BlizzCon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I when you guys first posted, well, you guys. When Blizzard first posted how the Fall Cup was going to go, I thought that was a very aggressive approach for getting this final cup done before the actual finals of BlizzCon. I understand why, because I mean, obviously they need enough time to figure out who get visas, get flights, get hotels, all that stuff. Pardon me, but I still felt that it was very, very aggressive. And kudos to you guys for being able to figure out how you're going to do that. And hopefully it all works out. It's going to be some really long days for both you, and the whole team, right?
Yeah. No. But we're used to long days, and I think we've gotten to a point here. We've done enough of these that we're pretty efficient when it comes to stuff like this. And I don't think any of us are really worried about it. The schedule is it looks a little bad, but to us, that's just kind of how esports goes. Like there are long days involved, so we're ready for it.
Yep, a lull and then a long day and then another lull. So, all right. Well, I think that's about that. If anybody wants to see what the other dates are, obviously it's up on the esports page over at World of Warcraft. It's also going to be in the show notes here. And it's going to be a very busy few weeks throughout the rest of this month and into October, right before actual opening week starts. So I don't know about you guys. I am going to be watching all I can to find out, see where the standings are going to look and how BfA is looking for esports right before BlizzCon starts. So into our news.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Manastorm.
He goes by Mill, right?
Does he go by Mill?
Yeah. He prefers if you call him Mill. I don't know if you knew that.
Would that make him a Mill Warlock? Is that a new Hearthstone deck?
Is it? I don't know.
No, I don't know. I know there's Mill Druids. I don't know if there's Mill Locks. All right. All right. So obviously there's been a bunch of hot fixes as Blizzard has been tuning a bunch of stuff. Have you guys been paying attention to this? Anything in particular that jumped out at you in the last few weeks? Or last
Feral, of course.
Yeah.
That affects quite a few of our teams that are signed up. So gotta pay attention to that.
Yeah. That was I think probably the biggest one. I did also see there was a change that they did where they revamped a bunch of the Azerite powers as well. I don't know if you guys saw that one or not. Where is it? Well, this is good audio right here. Unprepared. All right, there it is. Back on the 24th. So they tweaked some of the mage, the warlock. Just kind of smattering here. There's demon hunter, warrior, rogue. Just tweaked a bit of the Azerite powers. They're a little bit overpowered. Just a little bit. I think there's still a few that are a bit more overpowered.
Especially stacking.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Right. There is. I guess they had an issue. There was some Death Knight abilities there. The Howling Blast and the Outbreak, which was going through line of sight. So somehow that happened.
Did you experience that?
You know what? Definitely with Howling Blast, because that is the one thing I need to keep up. So I definitely, I saw it go through a couple stuff, and I wasn't mad at it. To be honest, the fact that they caught it was pretty hilarious. I thought it was just me being like a G, just being like, all right, this is fantastic, it's working. But nah, it was 100% like something was wrong. So good on them, I guess.
Yeah.
The QA team at Blizzard for WoW is really, really good. So shout out to my boys over there working QA.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah. I know that they're really good. I'm just kind of surprised by some of the stuff that has now been caught up to. I'm just wondering if that was just a matter of like a known bug and they just couldn't get it fixed beforehand, or if it was something that was missed.
Yeah, usually
no, I'm not trying to call them out. It's a question that I'm asking myself as to like, how does some of the stuff make it to live?
Well, some things.
Well, do you see this stuff on like the Overwatch subreddit where there's just like that one guy who like picks out like a whole list of bugs and gets like recordings of it and like examples of how it like affects gameplay, and like it's perfect and it's like all documented out there. And then like someone from Blizzard like reached out and was like, oh hey, like thanks for like getting that for us. Like we'll keep an eye out.
Mm-hmm.
So like anyway, I feel like as long as you're interested in that kind of stuff, like it's always someone's gonna pick it out, and it's gonna make them look bad if like they didn't get it first.
I don't know if Blizzard ever feels feels bad about that. I think I think they appreciate it. That
Yeah.
they
Oh,
I think that's because they've always said like they'd rather that's that underlying comment that they always say is don't just say this is bad, give us the qualitative of why it's bad.
yeah.
And if you can provide that information to them, it just makes them help the game get better, right?
Yeah. And there's a lot that goes into fixing bugs. Finding the bugs are easy, right? It's like obviously something happens and you kind of go, okay, that's not right. But with QA, they got to figure out why exactly is this bug happening, and can we reproduce it 100% so that when we give it to people who fix the bugs, they have good information. And also the people fixing the bugs have got to, anytime they potentially fix a bug, they can create more bugs doing that. I mean, WoW is a super old game. The code is very old and very vast. So I would say most of the bugs that I've encountered, the people at QA already know about it. It's just there's a process in getting it fixed. And, sometimes that takes time. So,
Of course. Yeah. As is always with programming, because when you have things relying on other things, you could tweak one thing here and that can have a cascading effect way down the road.
For sure.
And, yeah. So that makes sense. But either way, hopefully everybody has been paying attention to this. Like we kind of alluded to, the biggest changes lately has been Feral. Feral Druids were not the healthiest going into the start of Battle for Azeroth. There was quite the discussion going on over on the forums. And subsequently, Blizzard actually made a quick fix, mostly over on, if I'm not mistaken, the AoE side of the house. And then subsequently, they turned around and made a bit of a change as to how energy is regenerated and some of the cooldowns, energy costs. And then, if I'm not mistaken, they did change the damage a little bit more to help even it all out. Yeah, so take a look at that. Hopefully, if anybody is or wanting to play Feral, they now feel better about it. Yeah, tongue in cheek there. I was actually really surprised because considering, it was the British team there with their team. I was really concerned how Hunter and Feral were going to play out into BfA, because they were the first team to win their seat at BlizzCon, and it would feel I was really sad if they were going to end up walking into BlizzCon with essentially an underperforming comp for PvP. Yeah. And I was really worried about that. So I'm glad that they did this. So it looks like Jungle is going to be back. I know Dilly Poo is pretty excited about it now. He's renamed it Dilly Cleave, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Yeah.
He's nice.
Although I don't know if he has the rights to name that, considering, the NA teams have all said that, facing Reformed, they felt like they were the best jungle period. So maybe we should call it, I don't know, Flappers Cleave, Dizio Cleave. Who knows?
Yeah, I think I'd rather you Dizio Cleave than Fapper Cleave, because that just sounds wrong. So
I don't know. That's a very intimidating fella. Having met him, having met him IRL and seeing him on stage, bang the opponents. It's a pretty imposing sight.
Right.
They I don't know. That first land they came out of from nowhere and really really did well. So
just owned it.
So
yeah,
happy to see that.
The banging was very.
I gotta admit, I'm looking forward to this year's BlizzCon, just meeting all these people. Like I can't wait to see them in the crowd and like just shake their hand and just like say hi. So hopefully that doesn't creep them out.
No,
it probably will, but that's okay. Anyways,
looking straight.
All right, into the rest of the news. A couple of things, a little bit on the not like straight on news, but so David over at Blizzard, it was actually interesting. There was a over on the WoW Reddit. There was a discussion about doing skirmishes on Sundays and talking about different players and that. And a person was like, "Hey, how do I get better?" So he went ahead and he put up a list of high-end PvP players that are streaming pretty consistently on Twitch. What their classes and specs of their expertise are, along with like if they have any secondaries and stuff like that, and also if they have any social contacts, so Twitter accounts and that. So I'm gonna link that in to the show notes. If you guys are like, hey, I haven't seen any of this certain class or spec or whatever, and you're trying to figure out who to follow on Twitch to maybe watch for some gameplay, here you go. Check it out. It's really awesome. And I just wanted to highlight that. Let's hear what else. There was the dev Q&A that happened there last Thursday. I didn't get to watch it live. I did watch the video afterwards. I didn't see a lot about actual PvP stuff. I'm just trying to think what else there was. There was a slight discussion there on the PvP gearing. That was more about where you can earn the gear from, and that if I understood it correctly. Nothing really else jumped out at me. Did anybody else watch this or see anything you or want to talk about?
Not from the Q&A.
Okay. I mean, I guess there is a slight thing there about the scaling that was happening between levels, and they fixed that. But
that
was already fixed, though.
Yeah, that needed to happen desperately.
Yeah. Although I didn't put this in the show notes, but there was a really funny one where I guess Venruki ended up going 1v1ing in
the 116,
some form.
like the right or something.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, 116.
And he like lost to it, and he like made a whole post to it, and then like the dev essentially said like, oh, there was nothing on our end. Well, not that, but like it wasn't a...
No, they recreated it.
Yeah, they recreated it. Yep.
They were able to pull the log from it, and they recreated the whole event internally. That blew my mind.
Wow.
That they could actually do that.
Blizzard's on point, man.
Strong.
Well, it just goes to show, so hey, if you're gonna throw a trouble ticket in to say like, hey, blah blah blah, I was supposed to get something. They are literally recording everything that is happening. So if you think that you should have won something and you noobed it up and died, and you shouldn't have, they're gonna know about it. Like to the point where they can because they didn't even recreate it. They're like, yeah, we even did like a different simulation where it was 120 and 120 and and he still would have lost.
Yeah, they Dr. Street. They literally said there was no possible way you could have won anyway.
Yeah.
I looked up every possible outcome, and sorry, Venruki. But no, like even the fact that the 116 could stand a chance, I feel like personally, I didn't like. A lot of people said that like for immersion purposes, like just picking up a fight when you're leveling was nice. But I remember getting camped in like Hellfire, and just like over and over again, that place is like the worst place to level right after BC, and and just like getting completely pummeled, even though like you were 2 levels below like the cap. That's like, I feel like that's maybe not the best, but definitely better than this.
Yeah, I think that's the part that they were trying to avoid. They were trying to find a way to overcome that a 2-level difference would mean that you were just getting pummeled and camped. And I like that idea, but yeah, I was even hearing people where they're like they were 118 coming up to a 112, and they were dying to 112s and stuff like that.
Yeah, it would have had something to do with like the legendary still being like a thing before. Level.
I think that's exactly what it was. Like there's
that compounds with the scaling.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's about it. Everything else was more about PvE stuff that I don't care about. If you guys want to hear more about that, go listen to another podcast. Come back and we'll talk about some other things. All right. Let's see. What else was there? There was, so this has been swirling around the internet. There's on the official forums. It's on Reddit. It's like all around. And people are trying to figure out the scaling in PvP. Now, we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, and even last episode, about how gear matters again. But apparently, although they got rid of templates, it's still kind of there in the background, and we didn't know about it. And I don't think a lot of people really knew about it until they really started doing a bunch of this testing. And so different people have been doing testing, and it's still not totally understood. And I'm not sure if you guys have had any experience on this. I'm confused. I know I sent a tweet out to Blizzard asking Warcraft devs to do a water cooler or do something to help explain how the scaling is actually working, because a bunch of people are trying to do testing, and everybody's like, there's some contradictions, there's some similarities, but nobody really knows. And at the same time, it's kind of aggravating. I've seen a few people where they're like, hey guys, this is how PvP scaling works, and everybody reads it, and it's like they did some testing, but there's no empirical evidence in their posts, and it just looks like somebody standing on a soapbox and saying their own mind without any real evidence, and it's really aggravating. So, do you know anything? Have you experienced anything yourselves? Taco, how about you first, man? You haven't talked much.
I haven't.
I'm calling you out. Sorry.
It's all good. For me, I've just been focusing on eye level, maybe just because I have that Legion that mindset from the last expansion that I'm just like, I need to get the best gear I could possibly get, and the only way to get relevant gear is doing heroics and mythics now. So everything's an upgrade, and as far as that goes, it's just been one upgrade after the other, and getting lucky in the RNG god, and maybe Azerite traits play a small part in it, as far as secondary stats, but I think the Frost Death Knight really messed up my perspective, because I hit a noodle regardless of what I do and whatever I stack. And right now I'm just like I said before, the GCD was messing me up, so I've been stacking haste, just trying to maybe what if I just get more procs kind of thing. But I'm now leveling a Feral Druid, so that's where it's led me.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Andallyn, how about you?
So, I've been doing the same type of thing as Taco. I've just been stacking item level. But, I've done my own individual research on, Holy Paladin stuff with what people have done for testing on that and different things like that. And, so far I haven't seen any classes that are devoid of a hey, here's a generic stat template that we believe should be sound. It may not be the best for today, once everything comes out and what people determine, and based off of how the live game works, but they've kind of figured out we believe your best chance is going to be if you do this. And for Holy Paladin, it was if you have about 25% crit chance, then that's a pretty good safe bet that when you double your crit chance, you're looking at a 50% crit to get your procs. We think that's a good bet. So shoot for a 25% crit chance, stack the rest in haste, and then worry about mastery, and then versatility is your last stat. It doesn't really help you that much. So
okay,
they said that's pretty comparable between PvP and PvE. More information to come. And these are kind of some of the stuff that you get from from some of the same people who would do skill caps and different things like that. So
okay, interesting. So personally, I was using PvE guides to try to help me figure out what my stats should be, because I figured doing a DPS class that would be follow through very similarly. If anybody wants to know some of the stuff that they're talking about, there was a question of one person was saying if they hit somebody and it showed a number, and that number showed up on their screen, it showed up in their combat log, but yet when they talked to the person received on the other side a different number. So it seems like the scaling is internal on the servers. It does some sort of calculation, and there's some conversation as to what that calculation is, but that's how that's happening, at least on the damage side. And I just realized I totally skipped over you, Elbareth. Sorry, dude. I don't know. Did you get any experience of this before your computer crapped out?
Well, yeah, because I had the foresight to realize that this is going to happen. So I just stacked, the best itemized items at eye level 300, and I'm ready to go. So everybody who has been grinding for 340, you're all noobs and should have thought about this, because that gear is useless now, and I'm going to be king of the arenas. No. I guess I'm lucky in that sense that if it does come out that the scaling, that eye level doesn't really matter that much, and it's more about the itemization of your stats and Azurite traits, and maybe I don't have to grind so hard for that. But other than that, I think it's a wait and see game, because there, like you said, there are a bunch of people testing and giving their own input, and some are valid and some are not valid. Some are just people whining and complaining, which is with everything. But and if it does turn out to be the case, I don't know if I have an opinion on it, honestly, because the Legion system is kind of, from my background, competitive, person and somebody who runs competitive esports tournaments. It's kind of the good thing, right? Because, it's an equal playing field for everybody. There's an easier, entry to buried entry. But as an MMO player, I do like to get gear, and I like when that gear makes me more powerful. And, last expansion, I got a new piece of gear, and I didn't really care about the secondary stats, and I didn't care about the eye level. I was just like, okay, well, templates mean that it won't matter too much. So, part of me is torn, right? The competitive side who wants a fair and balanced, esport, and then the MMO player who just wants to get the best gear possible and, and be able to, one-shot noobs who don't have better gear than me. That's kind of, what I grew up in WoW with. So, yeah, it's a 50-50 split here.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I like the idea of, that gear has a little bit of a higher item level. Put it on, I'm good to go. I do like the idea of, if I want to stack all mastery, if that's that could be a really cool thing, and I could do some really funky stuff with that if the stars align. Obviously, I have to kind of survive for that to happen, or crit, or whatever, right? That is kind of cool. I find not knowing how the stats and the gear and how that is actually being calculated and really is affected in the background, because for all we know, versatility, which is kind of being ignored for the most part on the PvE side, might have like 100% background boost on it, and nobody knows about it because everybody's just ignoring it because they're going for crit and mastery, right? Or crit and haste, right? And I think something needs to be said or put out there, because I have a feeling like if the way it's going, it's going to be like season 3 in BfA before we figure out exactly what's being done here, and that seems a little bit at a loss.
Definitely,
I feel it's unfair to this. It's unfair to us in the community, especially when the PvEers, they have all these sim crafters and they have all this stuff, right? And nothing's being tweaked on the backside that they know about. So anyway, all right. I think we've flogged that dead horse. Let's hear anything else. I guess the one other thing, arena season. I'm sure everybody knows about this. Arena was supposed to open today, and then it got disabled. There's some unexpected issues, quote unquote, and so to be opened at a later date. Waiting for the news. So once they figure it out, they'll get that done, and hopefully we'll have actual rated PvP.
PvP content.
All right. Yes, not just skirms. All right, into the subject of analysis.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
All right. So obviously, Elb, you're here, so we can talk to you about GCDTV, the past and the future. Like I said, it's been about 2 years since we last talked, which is, I can't believe it's been 2 years already.
Yeah, that's
holy moly. It seemed like just yesterday.
Fast, dude.
I know. Life is like that. It's kind of annoying, but it's really cool. So yeah, let's talk. So there's been some changes in the Arena World Cup, how it was being done. Pretty much all of Legion is done now. We're heading into BfA. The BlizzCon is just around the corner to find out who the world champions are going to be for 2018. You want to how has it felt?
It's
first
felt
and foremost
bigger, and it is bigger, right? We've had 2 international lands already this year before BlizzCon. We've had a chance to see NA versus EU twice already, which has been crazy, because usually we wait an entire season or an entire expansion to get to BlizzCon, and then we get to see international teams fight. But with the structuring this year, we've had 2 international lands, one in Ohio, one in Katowice, Poland. And everything is much bigger. In terms of the GCD side of things, it went from basically Jacob, Tom, and I, or Jacob, his Toxic, Tom is Starship, and we've had to grow. So basically, GCD now is Aya, who is our stats producer. So basically, any stats you see on broadcast, she has collected and archived and done everything with that. It's an incredible system, and it's something that we've wanted in WoW Esports forever. And finally, we have somebody tracking all of that. And along with stats, she's also does some admin work for us, and she also does observing for the PvE side of esports, so the MDIs. And along with her, we have picked up 2 dedicated observers, one of which you guys probably know. His name is Vanguards. He's slightly famous.
Oh, that name sounds familiar somewhere.
Maybe a former competitor. He's done well for himself. So, yeah, we're super.
Maybe a Cleve
I'm
team
not sure what that is.
Maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
I think there's a couple mobs named after
It's
him.
been it's been awesome having Sam join us, and obviously having his expertise in PvP has been
that's awesome,
amazing for the observing. And I think their observing has really stepped up this year. And along with Sam, we picked up a fella by the name of Spoon, and he isn't as well known in the WoW scene. He's more of a CS:GO guy. So he is a college CS:GO player. Played competitive for his college team. He's a friend of Toxic's, and he's Toxic is like, hey, this guy is good at the video games, and I think he'd be good at observing. And he was right. He's an excellent observer. So we have 2 dedicated observers. So when you see the awesome camera shots and the fly-ins, and when Sam picks up a nice kill, that's those 2, Sam and Spoon, or Vanguards and Spoon.
Mm-hmm.
They are on-site observers for every single broadcast. And that is PV and PvP. So anything with WoW Esports, if there is an observer involved, they are the people that are there. Yeah, so we're a bigger team.
That's awesome.
We do way more.
Because you guys are doing MDIs as well as the US or the NA and EU cups.
And Australia.
And you did APAC as well.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Holy moly, you guys are getting busy.
Super.
When are you guys going to start doing Copa and China?
I would love to do China.
Yeah, right.
I would also love to do Copa. Although they're doing pretty well by themselves. They're an awesome team over there. I love those guys. So yeah, maybe some opportunities involved, but I think we need to grow a little bit bigger before we start touching all of the regions. But yeah, anything.
No, fair enough.
For NA and EU WoW Esports, we have a hand on. So whether that's PV or PvP, which means we have a very busy schedule, which we love because we love WoW Esports, but we also like to put on tournaments, community tournaments, and we don't really have the time for that, because every week there's a cup. Yeah. Well, I guess in this case, 2 cups. So
yeah, you get
no
you guys. I actually noticed that it kind of is awesome. In a way that because of how you guys have grown and then kind of become the de facto Blizzard administrators for their cups. But at the same time, it does kind of suck because there's no more of those old homegrown ones as we saw in the years past. So
it's the unfortunate side effect of a bigger esport scene for WoW. We'll always need the community tournaments because that's how you're going to grow your next professionals. You know what I mean? We need to grow people, and that's why having research in esports step up and put on some community tournaments is a really big thing, right? Because we need the. I'm gonna make a sports reference. You need the feeder leagues to feed into the big leagues, so we can have more people.
Totally.
Yeah, we need a minor league system because, if you think about it, a lot of these players are getting old. Cedar just had a kid. He's probably not going to want to compete for the rest of his life. Same with Meta teams. They've been competing for
dads. I'm expecting for Dad Do and Grandpa Do to be it'd be the thing, man.
But we need a new Sea-Doo to come up. We need a new Mez.
That's true.
I met Peekaboo when he was 15 years old, maybe 14 years old. Now he's a young lad in college, 21. maybe he retires. Who knows? We need new peekaboos. We need the young generation of gamers to come up and compete. And, while we do offer open signups, sometimes you sign up for these AWCs and you face Sea-Doo or the Move right away. I guess they're called Ghost Gamers now, but and you get beat down. I mean, these are the best of the best. You get beat down early in the bracket. So it's good to have tournaments where people can see some success and get hungry, for that tournament scene. And because there's nothing like it. Once you compete in a tournament, it's kind of an addiction. You kind of want to compete more and more and more, and especially when you're competing in the big leagues. Yeah, we need the community tournaments. And once the schedule slows down a bit for us in AWC, maybe after BlizzCon, we have some things planned. Nothing to announce yet, but
teaser.
We've been vamping up some things in the background while we've been busy with other things. And I've made other friends in the industry, and I've learned more skills as all of us. Nice. So we have bigger and better things to bring for WoW Esports. That's and hopefully we got time after BlizzCon to kind of put that on and have some fun community stuff. But yeah, it's big. To go all the way back to the first question. Everything is bigger. Everything is better. GCD is bigger and better. AWC is bigger and better, and WoW Esports is bigger and better. So here we go.
That's awesome. So I know I have some other things I would like to ask, but Andallyn, I know you drove like a bat out of hell to get home on time today just for this. Is there anything you want to ask or talk about?
Yeah. Well, I mean, geez, where would I start on that stuff? But I mean, what do we before I derail this train? Can you define the tracks? What are we trying to stick with? What are we trying to stick with? A certain topic here that deals with
So obviously, I mean, Elbareth, you are, like I said, you're the co-owner of GCDTV now. There's all the administration of what's going on. Let's stick within that and not get too outside those lanes.
That's what I was thinking. What I was thinking. Cool. Awesome. So let's see. So I guess, what I was kind of getting at earlier before Gerissar was like, whoa, I need to pump the brakes a little bit here, is I know myself and a lot of others in a good group of people who I've got ready sitting in channels right now are itching to get their hands on some WoW Esports, man. So like what's new and exciting about BfA in GCD's eyes for WoW Esports, and not necessarily just like some of your recent expansions that you just told us about, with Blizzard having new and improved people, staff, and stuff like that to help you make a better and bigger production. But like maybe as far as BfA is concerned, with maybe if there's pieces of lore that tie into this, or pieces of different visual aspects of like the environments in some of the zones, or like what about BfA, if anything, is really exciting for like some of these new AWC Cups?
I mean, the green is gone, right? We can get that out right now. The green is gone. The green of Legion is gone, which I think anybody who's watched a Legion broadcast for the past how many other years noticed there was a very green, fell, evil theme.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've moved on to a nice fresh color theme where it's more like Horde versus the Alliance, and then there's like old gods happening, and it's not this like green ugly thing. So from a production standpoint, we have better colors, in my opinion.
Nice.
I think all of us are really tired of just a green set with green lights. Nobody really looks good with the green lights shining on them. So all of our competitors will look better. The casters look better. But no, I mean, BfA brings a brand new expansion, brand new gameplay, and it's fresh. And, last year, or not even last year, wow, when Legion launched and we had that big BlizzCon tournament, we had a ton of viewers. I mean, so many people. I don't know if anybody was there actually at the stage.
Mm-hmm.
We were breaking fire codes. I was watching fire marshals walk down the aisle and kick people out. That's how many people were there. And that's what a new expansion brings. It brings, brand new eyes. It brings old eyes, which is one exciting thing I've seen. I don't know if you guys have taken a peek yet at the Battleflies and seen some of the participants, but we've got some old veterans turning up to try their hand at the tournaments now, which is always exciting, right? Beginning of expansions bring new people, and it also brings old people who kind of quit. I mean, mid Legion, they got bored, and that's something I'm excited to see. Because a lot of these really good players are back, and they could shake some things up during these tournaments. We have some teams at NA and EU that are really fighting and struggling for a spot for the last few BlizzCon spots, and an unfortunate loss to some of these really good veteran teams that are showing up that probably won't make BlizzCon. They can't get enough points for it, but they're just there to have fun and show up, and they can create quite a stir. Excuse me. And
then they're gonna bring in the viewership too. Like there was a couple times where the viewership was like
40,000.
It was good, but it wasn't comparable to let's say Hearthstone or
right
Overwatch.
Now, WoW's at 96
levels.
Soda pop and streaming.
Yeah,
pretty nice.
Yeah,
right there. That's that's.
Well, he's at 31 right now.
Yeah, so it's not 31. Like it's all from that.
Yeah,
we got mad people streaming right now.
No,
yeah, he's definitely a third.
But I mean, like, still, like when we're talking about the actual cups, like you're talking 20 to 40,000, depending. Like there's some good peaks there. But when you start bringing in some of these veterans, like there's people that follow these guys all the time, and when you see that they're going to be on there, it's going to drive some more viewership back to the original, back to the Warcraft stream, right?
Yeah, and plus people are just excited, right? I mean, there might be WoW esports fans out there that don't pay too much attention because they're not playing the game anymore, and they might be back.
Exactly.
The game has captured their interest, and they just want to take a peek at like what the good comps are playing right now. I mean, maybe they want to get some good ideas for what they want to queue since they're back at the game, and there's just an overall excitement for WoW again. I mean, I haven't been excited for an expansion in a very long time. When you kind of work with the game on the esports side of things, you kind of get tired of the game, period. Because I'm always logged in the game, whether it's administration work or doing some stuff for the tournaments, and you kind of get tired of it. And Legion went on a long time. It was an okay expansion, and we just have a fresh new start basically for everybody. There's a fresh start for everybody, and I think that's the one thing that heading into the AWC season, I mean, we get a whole season with a new expansion. You know what I mean? This isn't we qualified for BlizzCon on Legion and now we're playing BlizzCon on BfA. No, this is a whole fresh fall season on BfA.
Yeah.
It gives players time to really perfect their comps. So I think we're going to see one of the most competitive BlizzCons ever.
Well, these cups are going to be extremely competitive, right? Because, like you said, this is the last kick for the last seats to BlizzCon. So people are going to be. It wasn't not that people were sitting back in season 1 and season 2 or the spring season and summer season, but they were trying hard. But now they're going to really try harder, because if they don't make it here, they're not making it to BlizzCon at all. So there's going to be some serious tooth and nail biting. Like people are going to be right onto it.
And what's really cool too is, sorry to cut you off there, but what's really cool too, but just to tack onto that I partially really enjoy, is how once a lot of these teams start to see the pedal hit the metal there, the statisticians they get to work and they start to see what kind of finesse moves can be played to be able to say, like, when we saw people queue in the past to create teams last minute to try and push like people they're friends with or their siblings, brothers, up into the realm of being able to qualify for BlizzCon or qualify for that LAN, which is always, like, I think adds such a unique and just different dimensional element that makes it so much more fun and exciting to watch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the big show. This is the Super Bowl of WoW, is BlizzCon.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure Method, Black, and Reformed are happy about winning, the spring finals and the summer finals, but if they show up to BlizzCon and don't win that, they're all disappointed. I mean, that is the ultimate goal for every single competitive WoW Arena player. If they're interested in tournaments, is they want to hoist that BlizzCon trophy. They want to stand there to be the last team and to be the winners on that stage. And this last season, it's kind of like, I kind of think of it as like you have this huge project at the end of the year, but it's January 1st. So you're not really thinking about it. You're kind of like, okay, New Year started. I have this big project at the end of the year. I'll work towards that. But now it's crunch time. Like, your project is due soon, and you're just going to, like, all of these teams are just ramping it up now, because even if you're Method Black or if you're Reformed, you know, you're qualified for BlizzCon, that pressure's off you, but then you have BlizzCon. Mm-hmm. If you walk in there as you've already won a LAN this year, and you get last, you get totally stomped, like, that's not a good feeling. So these teams are working on that, and it's a new expansion, so anything can happen. We've seen that time and time again. You know, the meta's not perfected yet, and all of these teams are going to be working as hard as they can to try and find that one comp or this one strategy that will beat everybody else. And, you know, man, I'm so excited for this to start.
I know. You got me stoked.
It's been too long a wait, honestly. Yeah, I like the time off, but
yeah, no, I hear you there, Elb. Taco, you were saying you might have a question or two?
Yeah, definitely. Just since you work, you know, obviously with the whole WoW Esports thing and everything, and being part of GCDTV, what do you think is going to be the next big thing in WoW Esports? Do you see it happening anytime in like the next 5 years? Like, what do you think is going to be the next? I don't know. What's going to set it off into that next level? Maybe is it like a next expansion, or do you think something's going to happen in this expansion where it just completely, you know, maybe something happens where the viewership just goes nuts, or just, you know, more consistent basis kind of thing?
I mean, I think this expansion period is something you're referencing there. Is like, even at our summer finals, we were still in Legion, but the viewership was super high, and that's just because there's an interest in WoW again. People are, you know, WoW's back on people's radars. I mean, when WoW launched, how many people were watching on Twitch? It was the number one game on Twitch. I mean, and it's still just trending. It's so high, and that's just, you're bringing more eyes to that, and people naturally like esports. I mean, I watch esports of almost every game, and I don't play most games. Yep. You know what I mean saying? But like, I don't play CSGO, but I still watch a CSGO tournament. I like the esports part of it. So if I'm not a WoW player, but I see there's a WoW tournament on, and I'm like, oh man, WoW's been trending. Like, let's check this out. Like, and then I get involved with it. So that's the thing. And also, there's more than just 3v3 in terms of a game mode. So 6v6 RPGs is something I've been interested in forever. We've run some tournaments in the past. We've also had some invitationals at a BlizzCon, and it did really well. And I think in terms of viewership, in terms of like people, because there's not many people that can really relate to like see you playing 3v3 arenas, like, especially if they've never stepped competitively in the arena. They've done some skirmishes, they've done some 2v2s, but if they've never played 3v3, they can't really relate to that. But you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who's not stepped into a BG or who's not BG, and I think that appeals to way more people, and I think that could be a huge thing. And plus, it's exciting to watch. You know, you have 6 of the best players versus 6 of the other best players, you know, in a game mode that has objectives as well as, you know, competitive skill. And I think that could be a huge thing for WoW Esports. I think that could be the next, you know, kind of MDI thing. We've seen MDI explode because dungeons are so relatable to everybody. Everybody's done a dungeon, unless you're super hardcore pet farming. But even then, you've probably done dungeon. So to watch people, you know, race through that, it's exciting for people. And I think our next thing there is 6v6. But without that, the expansion itself is the exciting thing here, right? Like 3v3 arena is still exciting. It's still awesome. And I think this expansion will help not only viewership, but just the hype in general. We've had, I mean, just Twitter, Twitch, Reddit. I mean, this expansion's got everybody talking, so I think that's the thing right there. Is the expansion itself is our big thing.
I know I can speak on behalf of Resurgent Esports. We're looking at trying, you know, to be able to build a little bit of hype around 6v6 and get people interested in it and make it something that at least has a small following of people who enjoy this, who would like to see this happen on a larger scale, so that it can happen more organically, like more quickly than as opposed to like, hey, we're going to figure out how to launch this, you know. And that's something that we're really excited about being able to start putting out here in the next month, honestly. And one of the things we actually want to start looking into is how to do some and we might have to try to reach out some of our friends over at Blizzard about how to maybe try to do some competitive or be able to broadcast competitive expeditions, because I think that would be amazing.
Oh,
Yeah. Did you see the exhibition at Gamescom with those?
I did not.
Yeah, you should check that broadcast out.
I missed that as well.
yeah.
I didn't
That
see
sounds.
it. Was it PvP or was it PvE?
I'm not sure. I know an expedition was played on stage.
Mhm.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
All right. So
Good to know.
I want to reach back a little bit. Going back into your brain box there, Elb. The Spring Cup. It was the first cup we did, or that you guys did for the NA and EU side of the AWC, the Road to BlizzCon, if you will. What's your most memorable moment of that cup? Either the cups leading up to it or the actual LAN that you guys did at Columbus, Ohio.
The most memorable moment. Oh, I have a couple. This is tough because LAN is such a big thing, and that was such a hype LAN with Reformed winning. Man, this is a tough one.
You are not prepared.
Well, so
Okay.
I'll have two.
Okay, two's fine.
The easy one is Reformed winning the spring finals. Because Reformed wasn't really on anybody's radar as being one of the top teams, and like everybody knew the jungle was strong, and everybody kind of assumed that like they would do well.
Yep.
But
They kind of came out of
to
nowhere,
win
though.
outright, to win outright versus some really good teams. I mean, some teams were a little hindered because they had VC issues, but I mean, you got XRB to the moon there. You have Ascendant, you have the Rejects, you have Method Orange, you have Super Frogs, Skill Cap Black, now known as Method Black. Like, all of these teams are incredible. And then you have Reformed, this jungle cleave, just basically stomp everybody and win that.
Yeah,
It's
that
a
was
huge
that was
moment for
pretty
me.
amazing. I can only imagine what it was like there.
And then the biggest thing, I think, the other thing besides that for spring season is, to go back to our friend Dilly here, is their run in the last cup, NA Cup 3, to qualify. I mean, everything had to line up. They had to win the tournament to qualify for that LAN, and they did just that. And it was crazy because, I mean, we're all sitting here watching this unfold, and we're like, wow, they're knocking some people out. I mean, think about how good, Carlos's team, Abster's team is, Peekaboo. They didn't make it because Sneaky Snakes won that tournament. They not only won in the finals, they 4-0'd the Rejects. They 4-0'd Jamili.
Yeah.
So that's a standout moment for me in Spring Cup.
Okay.
And then, so you want to Summer too?
And,
Summer
Summer
Cups.
Cup. What about Summer Cup? Because that's
Summer
when you
Cups.
guys actually flew all the way out to Poland there too, right?
Yeah. Something that stood out from that. I mean, just that event period, the whole summer finals period, I think kind of stands out as a very memorable moment. To have, the experience of going to Poland, which is amazing country, so beautiful. And it's a place that I've never really thought of myself as going. I mean, when you think of European vacations, you don't really think of Poland, but now that I've gone, I want to go back. And this was a big motivator for our NA players because I don't think any of them had ever been out of the country, especially not in Europe.
Yeah.
So to have that opportunity to get flown there and housed there and, compete in another country in Katowice, Poland, I think was a huge thing. And it was fun to see them experience a brand new culture and to see how they, can perform in a foreign environment, because we've seen the Europeans do it time and time again. They come to the US and they still dominate. It doesn't really affect them anymore. But I kind of wondered how the NA players would take it. And it was just awesome to see that. It was just an amazing tournament overall. Such a smooth tournament. Shout out to Jan and Adrian over there, the Blizzard EU guys, who've just they put on such a good tournament. It was so so easy on our end, and it was a beautiful event and one that is sticking there in my mind of top events that I've worked. So the most memorable moment for the summer season was the summer finals. I mean, the whole event, and obviously we got to see the absolute destruction that Method Black put on. I mean, they tore through that bracket.
Oh my god, did they ever? Wow.
We kind of got to see who the big bad boy is right now, and it's definitely them. You're like, okay, well, everybody else is
at his absolute best. I have to.
Yeah, exactly.
That was amazing.
And to see the added element of Swapsy to that team, the veteran leadership. You're just like, well, I mean, they're the best right now. So it'll be everybody else has got to play catch up. I mean, that's basically what they showed. Like, no one else is on our level yet. You guys got to play catch up, and
yeah.
So yes.
Well, until they nerf Outlaw, but that's whatever.
Oh, even Raz is skilled enough to where it doesn't matter.
He just makes it look so easy.
Oh, he does. He does. I have to admit, and this is one thing I'm curious about. In comparison to the visa issues that always occur trying to bring people into NA, into the United States specifically, is it going to be more realistic to see some lands being hosted outside of continental US? Do you think?
I'd like to see some for sure, because that means I get to travel places.
For sure.
So it's always nice to travel under company dime, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know. It's cool to have everybody like in a different environment, and because lands are special because you hear all this trash talk online, and you think of all these players as like hating each other, but once everybody gets together, we're all the best of friends. I mean, everybody.
A sweetheart as soon as the land gets involved.
Yeah, and you get to really see like some cliques and relationships formed between the NA and EU players. Some teams bond with each other, other teams, and it's cool. And you really get to see like how a player prepares for tournaments and stuff like that. So, I don't know anything like the visa issues are a whole other thing. I mean, visa issues have been a problem in every single esport. Unfortunately, that is beyond any of us. That is up to politics and policies. So sometimes things are harder than they should be. If it was up to me, there would be no visa issues for anybody. It'd just be easier to go places. Luckily, if there's lands in Europe, it's pretty easy for NA players to go to most European countries, as we don't really need visas. Our passport kind of is our visa.
Yeah.
It's kind of a free hello, like you guys can visit here. But yeah, like the visa issues are an unfortunate part of having international lands and having international events. They're always going to happen. I know everybody at Blizzard works as hard as they can to make sure they don't happen, but again, it's out of everybody's control there. Some things happen. Governments get mad at each other. Politicians get mad at each other, and things happen to where it's harder for people that they're just gamers to just enter countries. So hopefully as esports grows, these kind of issues kind of get pushed to the side. But I mean, even in professional sports, they still happen. So I think we have a way to go, but hopefully, like as I said, with the growth of esports, we'll see less and less of them occur.
Well said, man. Well said. Hey, Andallyn, can you ask that next question there? My throat's getting a little sore.
Oh, you've got a list of them?
This is what I have show notes for a reason, dude. I know.
I can ask my own question to myself.
If you want an awesome intro, I might be able, if I can find the spot.
It's the one I have highlighted there.
Oh, okay. All right. So looking at BfA. So BfA has brought several changes to our gameplay, right? With PvP talents, stat scaling, removal of templates, etc., etc. So granted, your computer's been broken, and you've had your own challenges of being on the game and not being able to do anything. Has PvP felt different for you personally, and could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, to go off of our earlier discussion about GCD changes, that's definitely been it's different. Like you feel different to do expansion and everything. Shadow Priest got changed with the removal artifacts and stuff like that, so that's definitely it's a different play style. PvP definitely is different in some aspects, but then again, once you play enough and get used to it, it just kind of starts to feel the same as any other expansion. You just get used to things, and it's the same old I have cooldowns, they have cooldowns. Let's try and murder the other team, essentially. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, right.
I think I'm past the stage to where it feels super new. I'm more going toward, even without a lot of gameplay, I'm moving towards the stage of, well, this is back to normal here. My priest might play differently, but I'm still arena or 3v3
Do you
arena.
feel like you have viability in
yeah.
your priests right now, or is it too early to tell?
I feel like I could do well with it, and I think obviously people way better than me can do good with it. Is it the strongest right now? No, but I think there are some comps like God comp that could be pretty strong and fun to play. So I'm down to play that, but I'm also leveling some alts in anticipation of Shadow Priest being totally garbage. I don't want to be the martyr here for priests. This is actually so interesting fact. I'm actually a hunter main, and I've been a hunter main since I started the game. And in Legion, I actually picked up Shadow Priest, and I was like, well, this feels way different. This is way more fun than Hunter right now. And so I was like, with BfA coming up, I had this real hard choice of what I was going to main. And I was like, I think I want to play something different, which is huge, right? Because it's such a big step to be like, I'm going to ditch my main class that I know from the back of my hand and to pick up something new. And I had a couple choices of like Warrior, Demon Hunter, Death Knight, Ellie Shaman, Boomkin, and Shadow Priest. And I was like, you know what? I liked Shadow Priest and Legion. Let's make that my main. Unfortunately, kind of backfiring, but you know what? Yeah. We're going to push through it. And hopefully, we can see some Shadow Priest buffs later on in the season.
I kind of hope so, considering, when you look at Boomkin compared to Shadow Priest.
Yeah, they're fantastic right now. They're doing incredible numbers.
Warrior. Yeah. It's always...
Dude, I already know what I'm pushing. I told you last episode. HPAL Boomkin Beast Mastery Hunter is going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. The Boomkin BM Hunter.
Boomkin BM. That sounds awful.
If that's played in a tournament, everybody should tweet at you that you are the prophet.
I was trying to play it in this recent tournament, but my work is sending me out of town, and I'm like, no. I may have to find someone to take my spot, but I don't know, we'll see.
Because I've seen that. I think, did I see somewhere they're doing double druid as well? I saw a Boomy Feral comp somewhere as well.
Interesting.
I've seen a lot of crazy comps, but it's skirms. I don't know what to trust yet. Yeah. I know never to trust things unless it's like Method Orange, where Mez and Trill will definitely play something cheese, and they'll be really good at it.
Yep. Yeah.
I know Trill is not playing his Monk right now. He'll have it, but I know that he's been playing his Demon Hunter a lot, which has got me interested because I'm like, I have a Demon Hunter. If Trill's playing that, maybe I should copy because he's really good at the game. Probably hands down one of the best players in the game in any aspect.
Yeah.
You have a Trill
PV and PvP. That he's one of the young guns that we need more of. Like phenoms, basically. Trill is a phenom. Because if you watched him at MDI, he's amazing. Obviously, he's amazing in AWC. And so do you guys know that, do you guys know the game GeoGuessr? There's like a version of that for WoW.
Yes, I love that game.
Well, he's the greatest at that game. I watched him play it at Summer Finals in Poland. And yeah, I don't think anybody's better than him. He instantly finds a spot, knows it, instantly clicks it. There's no thinking, there's no looking. It's just there. Inherent knowledge of the game. So he's also the WoW GeoGuessr champion. I will claim that now. No one's better than him. So
incredible.
That's insane.
Legendary.
But yeah, PvP feels a little bit different, but it's getting back to the same old thing. Just to go way off that thing right there.
Well, that's why I like these conversations.
Nice.
We talk these in the little circles, but it's a bunch of information, and I hope people seem to still be downloading and listening to us. So hopefully this episode doesn't completely trash that. But
that's gonna stop because I'm on the episode now. So you're about to get -3 downloads. Somebody's gonna find a way to just try and delete that from the cloud.
And probably succeed.
No comment. Hopefully the service we use that I pay to host this can find a way to stop that, because I'm personally enjoying this conversation.
We'll fight the good fight.
Exactly. Okay, let's hear what else. Oh yeah. So like you said, BfA is just around. It's now dropped. It is coming up. There is obviously, like I said, there's 29 teams on the NA, 23 teams on the EU side. All locked in. You're kind of seeing what people are looking at doing. Maybe not specifically their comps or anything, because you guys don't have that. That's not part of the lock in, right? It's just team name, and people bring whatever they want to bring, right? But is there any team that's coming up here in this first cup that you're kind of keeping an eye on, that you think might something or that something's coming up that might really be worth watching?
Any RMP. So, I mean, our usual suspects in the Europe. We'll start European region. Obviously, the usual suspects come right to mind, right? So, Method Black and Making a Movie. The RMPs of the world, because RMP is a good comp. I don't know if anybody's noticed, or it's kind of, flying under the radar. Totally not flying on the radar at all. That comp is insane right now. So, crazy. Just watching the RMPs, because I think they will come out swinging, and I don't know if their playstyle has changed too much, and all of these teams have been playing it for so long. And then any team that really plays a melee heavy cleave, something like that, to where melee usually performs really well in the early of expansion, and melee is doing really well right now. So on the European side, we have that Windwalker DK Nation, although I'm not sure how good Windwalker DK is right now. I know I've been watching a few streams. Jeff the DK is back. He's saying that he doesn't think Windwalker DK is strong. Obviously, Trill doesn't think it's that strong. So they might be struggling a bit. But anybody really playing, those melee cleaves will do well. Obviously, now with the Feral Blast, jungle might be viable. So you got Skill Capped Red and then Reformed over on the European side of things. Obviously, XRB of the Moon will perform well, I think. They are usually pretty good at figuring out what's going on in the new expansion. They play some pretty safe comps there for the new expansion. Temple Storm, I mean, I can go on and on. Europe is not, lacking any top talent. And just knowing Alec personally and the way he thinks the game, they're going to have something crazy, because the dude's a professor, literally has a PhD. He's smarter than all of us.
He's going to doctor something up.
Yeah, he'll figure something out. He'll know the comps already. And then obviously Method Black is just, they are the powerhouse teams. And not only are they like super skilled at RMP, they have a man by the name of Swapsy. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. Probably one of the best WoW players ever in AWC. And he's also pretty good at figuring out what's good in new expansions, as is evident as by his plethora of BlizzCon wins, especially, during the Legion. I guess he won 2 Legion turns. Anyways, he's amazing. And he'll have Method Black playing some pretty good comps, but I mean, they have RMP. So not only do they have RMP, they have whatever swaps he's cooked up. And if you're on the European side of things, you should be pretty scared. And then
it's a healthy recipe book.
Pretty good recipe for success. And then if we move over to the to NA, Method Orange, obviously they got the full roster back. Sidu's back. He's playing.
Yep.
And the Gosu crew, formerly known as the Move, they should be pretty good. I mean, rogues are good. Peekaboo's one of the best rogues. I saw WizK playing a Boomkin. And Jelly Beans. Actually, to go back to some comps, Thug Leaves look pretty good.
Okay.
Anyway, Thug Leaves looks pretty good. And Jelly and Peekaboo are pretty good Thug Leaf players. So that's Thug
Leaf is back?
With BM.
Let's be quiet here. But I think it'd be survival. Survival Thug. Anyways, that's just the whisperings I've heard on the Twitter sphere.
I don't know, Elbareth. I heard that you had benched WizK because you were playing Shadowproof.
Oh no,
that didn't happen. That was a quick.
No, that was complete fake news.
Dude, he's the Shadow Priest god.
I know he is.
There are a lot of Shadow Priests out there, but he plays Shadow Priest the way I like to play Shadow Priest, which is like super aggressive. I appreciate that, but I can't claim that he's the greatest Shadow Priest of all time because I am really good friends with Talbot. I don't want to hurt his feelings. Talbot is the greatest Shadow Priest of all time. WizK is pretty freaking good. So, that's a good team. And then there's some sleepers out there. There's some people like Dilly's team. They're playing jungle. They might be really good. And then Jamili's team, they kind of had a really bad season too, but they're a stacked roster, so you can't really expect them to be bad for that long. I expect them to come back. Obviously, Super Frogs, phenomenal team. So yeah, I think we're gonna have our usual suspects, and I think we'll be surprised by some teams coming up. We'll just have to wait and see, man. Maybe that resurging esports team, who knows? They might be the champion of NA Cup 1.
We'll see.
Sleepers, man. Sleepers.
I love it. I love it when these unknowns come out of the blue and just rock a tournament. It's so exciting when you see that. And I remember that happened during the summer season there, and I'm looking forward to seeing what people have come up with now that BfA is about to launch, and just I got goose pimples.
Real quick, before we leave this subject, maybe a little bit of spoiler, but I see a team, and there's a well-known mage player / demon hunter player / phenomenal player by the name of Rosito Jones, who is back in BfA, it appears, and signed up with a pretty stacked roster. So maybe keep a lookout for that, because
oh really?
Ooh, it's gonna be lit.
That could be pretty deadly.
Yeah.
All right, enough of the teams.
No shit.
No spoilers.
Okay, well, one last question. So PvP season was supposed to start today. Normally, you guys use the current CR / MMR to seed the bracket. Just kind of looking ahead, this one's kind of out of the blue, but just looking ahead, I don't know. We don't know when Arena is going to start, actually.
We'll worry about that. Don't worry.
Well, no, I'm kind of wondering, how's that going to affect the bracket seeding?
Well, so we kind of looked ahead, and we're like, hey, Arena season probably going to release a little late. Even if it just released on time today, we still wanted to give players plenty of time to get whatever character they wanted to give us for their highest CR a chance. That way, so usually how it works is we take the ladder snapshot on the day of signups closing at the exact time as signups closed. For these 2 cups, we are taking this live snapshot on a later date. So listed for NA Cup 1 and EU Cup 1 is September 11th. Will the snapshot be taken? Okay. So
a week from today.
Yeah, we're gonna try which is basically a day before the bracket is seeded and play begins, so it gives them plenty of time to try and get their rating up, because not everybody has 24 hours a day to try and grind for the number 1 seed, so we thought to give them some time. So yeah, well, that puts a little pressure on some people in GCD to get the seeding done in time, but we like the pressure.
Okay, it's all about the pressure.
Yes.
All right. Okay, I guess I don't know. Andallyn, Taco, is there anything else? Anything Bernie you guys want to ask before we move into the outro?
So I do. And I won't forget about Taco too, but I'm sure he's got a question possibly. But so for I could go on for days too, but for me and my crew, what if anything would you guys say to people who as an idea of what it means, or what community tournaments means to you, or what value you see in community tournaments?
Well,
something that we're trying to do is trying to just as
that's how all this really started.
Yeah,
it's David and Hannah had this dream and vision after there's a funny story about this. I was streaming one day way before GCD ever happened, and David was in my chat, and I had to talk with somebody about a league for World of Warcraft, and this was back when we were getting BlizzCon competitors off the TR or something like that, and it kind of sparked this thing man, that'd be really cool. And then he went to BlizzCon that year with Hannah, and we all met and became the friends that we are. And they came home with this like drive to just create tournaments for WoW. And it's kind of what happened. And him and Hannah asked Toxic and I if we would help out, and I was like, of course. Like, I wasn't really playing WoW at the time, but I was like, yeah, I like you guys are my friends, I'll help out. And then that just led to what we are today. But I mean, it all starts in the community. Like, that's why this blew up so big. I mean, there's a reason why we have the AWC as it is now. It's because of what David and Hannah did at GCD and how that carried over, because we saw how awesome WoW Esports could be off the community tournaments. But if that never happened, we'd get the same old regionals and a BlizzCon, and maybe the odd tournaments started by somebody else. But that's when really it just is like people are taking attention, like WoW Esports is really cool, and this is a community tournament happening. I remember Jacob and I took over after David and Hannah got hired at Blizzard, and we were like, wow, like, how are we gonna live up to this? And I remember we had our Legion Invitational was our first tournament Tox and I ever ran together, just solely. And I remember we peaked at like 18.7k viewers, and I was like, dude, WoW Esports is huge. People love this. You just need to give them some content and a product. So for anybody out there who's like, man, I don't know if I want to run a community tournament, it seems like a lot of work, and that we might not get the viewership we want. Like, people love that content. Somebody's gonna stop by and be like, I appreciate this. So plus people like to participate in it. It's fun. We've been trying to sign up for some community tournaments, just like the GCD team, just to mess around, but we haven't had time yet. But like, I want to sign up for tournaments, and if there's no community tournaments, like, I have no chance. I'm not gonna compete in AWC. Like,
yeah. Well, it's not that you're not going to compete for your own stuff, right?
Oh, I can guarantee you, if I compete, I'd win every single one. Everybody's DQ'd except for my team.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying WizCase security is good, man. He's locked in on it.
I just want to chime in on that, because I felt the same way when I was going to start this podcast, and I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know if I was going to get one viewer or one listener or 20. And thankfully, we're up to 4 now. I have to thank you, everybody, that you 4 who listen. I appreciate you all.
That's all 4 of us, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I jest, but nothing helps you feel that you're doing something right community wise until you know that there's a person watching or listening or saying, yeah, I like what you're doing. And I guess the flip side to that is, look at how often have you sat in LFG looking for a group and trying to figure, see what group you're going to pan into, rather than just forming your own group. And if you actually get around to forming your own group, how soon that group fills up with whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
Because for every person that's creating a group, there's 10 people that are waiting to join. And it's the same. I'd say the same thing with it's even a bigger factor with the community stuff, where there's a bunch of people want to watch it, but you just go ahead and try running it and see where it goes, right?
Yeah, don't be afraid to fail. Like, I failed a billion times doing any tournaments. We've messed up formatting. We've messed up I had to broadcast so much last year, and that was it was new to me. That was I went from a pure administration role to a production role, to where I was producing a show. It was a small community tournament, but still, nonetheless, it was a show. And I messed up so much, but like, that's kind of the fun, right? Is like messing up and learning from it. And along the way, you're gonna meet people that'll help you, and these people are gonna be end up being some of the best friends you've ever had. I mean, everybody I work with and everybody I've met through WoW Esports and GCD community tournaments are some of my best friends, and like that's the fun of it. You start this project that let's I mean, like the 6v6 league, you have no idea where that's going to take you, and that's the exciting thing about it. You might find amazing people, an amazing part of the community that would have never presented itself to you had you not taken the risk and started to run that. Because it is a risk. Like, are you going to risk a lot of really detrimental things? No. Maybe some pride, maybe some time and effort, but there is risk involved, and I think it'll always pay off in the end with either relationships or something bigger. So It's always worth it. Always worth it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Just to piggyback off that, just
Couldn't
all
agree
right,
more.
do you have any like advice to anyone, like a new player that's trying to get into WoW right now? Because like being a casual and a new player going into like, you know, arenas or BGs and trying to take that step into, you know, forming a team, it's like a huge step. So do you have any like insight, or, you know, especially from your perspective, you're already like you're in the thick of it as far as like esports goes.
Yeah, so I'll answer this in two parts. If you're just getting into PvP, I understand it's the biggest, baddest, like most daunting task in WoW, really, because there isn't really a casual side to 3v3 arena. You could skirmish, but eventually you're gonna go to the big bad rated part, and winning and losing rating is either a great feeling or a terrible feeling, and that's what people are scared of. So, you know, I would say the first thing is just watch streams, like fall in love with 3v3 arena, like just go out and do it and find friends. You know, there is a problem with finding partners sometimes, but once you find some people, like maybe you find 1-2's partner, and you two should make it a goal to try and find a third partner and just have fun playing the game, and don't worry about rating and stuff like that, which is a hard thing to do, right? Because some people have like ladder anxiety, or, you know, they really care about the rating. But if you're just starting out, who cares? Just play, have some fun. And then moving on to, you know, to be the competitive aspect, if you really do have ambitions of, you know, participating in the AWC and, you know, being on that main stage and competing in LANs, then just sign up. You know, if you already have your threes group, just be like, hey guys, like, let's take a weekend, let's sign up for this. Like, don't have any huge expectations for it. Just show up to have fun. You know, I always give this example when talking to new teams about, you know, watching somebody who is. So I have this one particular example. There's a person named Piff. He's on the team Plot Twist. You know, we've seen him a lot. I have watched that guy compete since I started doing like AWC way back in the day. And, you know, he's gone from, you know, getting knocked out in the first round or second round to making top 8. And that's just like, that can happen to anybody.
Wow.
Like if you put in the time and effort and you have fun doing it, you can make top 8. You can be where C2 is. Like none of these guys are some like unobtainable, you know, gods, right? This isn't sports.
Yeah.
Like if you're 5'5", chances are you're not making the NBA. I'm sad to say, like, unless you are a phenomenal,
5'5".
I mean, you got to be insane, right? But in WoW, there is no physical gifts that you could have. It's just a lot of it is time put into the game and a love for the game. So, you know, start out, do some BGs. Maybe you meet a friend in BGs. Do some skirmishes. I've met a lot of people in just queuing up like solo skirms, and you get that 3v3 group and you're like, wow, I like these guys.
Yeah,
these guys are good.
The best part.
Like, hey, why don't we take this to ranked? Like, let's not have any, you know, worry about what our rating is. Let's just do it. And then you take those 3 friends you've made or 2 friends you've made and you're like, hey, let's sign up for a community tournament or let's sign up for AWC and just see where it goes. Like, there's no harm in it. There's no risk. I mean, sure, you might get, you know, absolutely bombed on by like a Method Black or, you know, the Gosu, but I mean, that's part of the fun, right? Like, get beat up by your heroes and then just slowly improve and try and, you know, try and beat your last placing. So always try, I think. I think that's the biggest thing is just do it and like have some fun.
Yeah. And that's such a good point. And I think one of the things, like, if you made I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, you know, if you just are not afraid to fail, you're already ahead of so many people. Because I know even for us, like, we don't have methods C-dos, and like you're not queuing into like possibly the first people of like you don't have these intense games that you could be going up against. It's like you're queuing up into people who you probably don't already know. You may already know some of them if you're really involved, but like even then I still have tons of people who are like, no, I don't want to compete. I could run with this team, but I just don't want to because they're afraid of failing. It's like, what is there?
Absolutely nothing. It just have fun.
There's nothing to lose, but people are still afraid. So like the fact of the matter is, if you can overcome that, honestly, what I deem is almost like I don't know, regardless of whether it's irrational or not, you know, if you can overcome that, you're already that much closer than like better than half of the population who's interested in like competitive arena.
And there are
venture to
some
say.
people that look down upon a lot of the low-rated teams that sign up, and I see them in the chat, in the Twitch chats, and I see them on Twitter. But I know for sure that person who's saying that has not signed up and has never signed up.
No, never
Sure,
will.
they might be a high-rated player, or they might be a duelist, or like 2,500, but they're like, wow, like Method Orange went up against this 1,200 rated team first round. Like, what an easy win. Why did that team even bother signing up? Well, I mean, they had the balls to sign up. They wanted to have fun. Like, that's the big thing. Like, they already are ahead of you. You might be 2,700 rated, but if you've never signed up or like did that because you think, oh, I'm just going to lose, I'm not going to make top 8, I'm not going to make any money. Well, then I like that team more. I want more of those teams. I'd rather have a ton of, and you honestly, the 1,200 rated teams are some of the most exciting and best teams to deal with. They are so happy. They're so like, they just have fun playing the tournament. They're not so serious about it, which, I mean, I do appreciate the serious side of things because like this is an esport, like there are professionals, but the middle of pack teams sometimes take this too serious and they get pissed and they get mad and they're rude. But these teams are just happy to have a chance, an opportunity to be able to play against their heroes or be able to play in a tournament. So yeah, you got it right there. Just stand up and do it.
So true.
I like it. I am going to say one thing, personal advice is if you want to get better at PvP in World of Warcraft, don't do what I do. Don't create a podcast just to try to learn how to play. You actually have to play.
Yeah,
just
it's
saying.
hours in the game, man.
Fake news.
Yeah. But hey, if you want to meet a lot of really cool people, do this. All right. Oh, by the way, if you're going to podcast, you don't get to play games. So, all right. Hey, guys. Oh, wow. I think we're at that moment though that we are going to head into our outro. But first and foremost, we have to ask the time age question. What is one thing you would change? I don't know about. We've been talking mostly esports, right? So, what's one thing you would change about the Arena World Cup esports? Andallyn.
I think it would be incredible if I'm gonna narrow it down for this a little bit, at least for me, just because I know one of the things that I know you guys, I don't know if struggle with is the best word. Maybe that is still the best word, because I'm not involved on such an intimate basis as you guys are with your broadcast, but something we as a whole I think struggle with is finding the best way to help viewers, your average viewer, digest the the high-paced action of the World of Warcraft arena, right? So I think one thing I would change is I would love if there was a really just ingenious way to be able to make the arena a little bit more immersive, whether it was like there was an actual VR viewing experience available, whether it was a even if it was just a UI that someone came up with that was really awesome. But whatever it was, one thing I would change is I would love there to be something that is there that actually helps the viewer experience that on a much more realistic basis. Because I've participated in, unfortunately, only one tournament myself, but I've been the organizer of so many, and even as an organizer, you get and a producer, you get so much more of an intimate experience than honestly some of the viewers do, because it's so interesting. And one of the things I love about it is meeting so many of the different players and being able to interface with them and hear how much they're like, man, that was so awesome, I love that you put this on. I think if we were able to maybe bring that viewer experience as more of a viewer experience, so that people could witness and be able to experience like what it's like in all different types of aspects of these tournaments, I think it would be so much more rewarding, and I don't know, it would just reach so much larger of an audience.
I feel on the VR thing, that'd be cool.
It's interesting.
I'd be down with the VR.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
not from your perspective,
right?
though. I don't. More like a melee.
That sounds way too stressful.
maybe like a like there's like with Overwatch, there's like a paid Overwatch channel where you can get like more content or something like that. Maybe have like I hate to put it behind a paywall, but I'm just saying, like, I know this would cost more, but have like a paid experience for the AWC where you could switch channels and move from not just what's being streamed, but move over to, be able to get into those other channels, like get into the player viewpoint. Maybe not like their specific UI, their specific stream, but you mean kind of like that? Like, is that what you're talking about?
No, I mean as if you the viewer, like you're in virtual reality, like you're just a fly on the arena wall.
Oh wow.
As if you controlled your own. I'm just thinking outside the box. I mean, it may not even be possible, but I'm just thinking of like just theoretically of what would actually make something like wow, that would be an experience,
What, like become your own personal observer. Oh,
exactly.
Oh,
yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
That'd be amazing. I'd pay for that.
I'd
pay for that.
Yeah.
All right. Hey. All right. Elbareth. We'll go down the list. This is kind of self-feeding, but what's one thing you would change in WoW Esports?
I mean, I always want to improve, but I want more. How do I explain this? I want more media pieces on players. I want people to see what I get to see at LAN. How amazing some of these guys are. Because if they don't stream, I mean, we don't have access to it. We don't know what kind of person they are. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And, that's what esports is about. It's about building your athletes as stars. Like, they are the stars of our entire ecosystem. And what better way to get people on board with them than doing media pieces on them, or just showing people like what kind of person they are outside of the game and how they prepare for that and stuff like that. Like, because although Trill's streaming more now, like, he is such an amazing person in this game and out of the game. And, he doesn't really stream that much. You don't really get to see that side of him. And there's so many players like that. Like, if they don't stream, you don't know. And, I think like a ton of media pieces, like we've seen other esports where like there's entire behind the scenes shows that just keep coming out. And that's one thing I think that we could be heading that direction. I think is one thing that personally I want to do anyways. Even without a Blizzard thing, one thing at GC we've been trying, or not trying, but more talking about, particularly with me and Aya, is, venturing to players' houses and like getting them as a person, like filming them as a person, interviewing them as a person, just seeing their day-to-day lives. So I think that's something, we all enjoy. I mean, that's why we watch people stream mostly, right? Is to see their incredible gameplay, and B, just a little peek into, what kind of person what kind of person they are. So, that's one thing I do want to see is more media pieces on our athletes, our stars, so that people know them.
I agree. I love those little.
It's like reality TV.
Well, I love those little bits in between the arenas where they talk to the players and like you get those little snippets. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like I could totally see, like I love what's his name, Deadmau5, when he does his little coffee tour on his car. Yeah. He's like with somebody, and you get to actually like it's like a coffee talk with wow, I watched that guy on like whatever, and now he's just chatting about life like he's a real person,
and it's relaxed, right? Because a lot of the media pieces we do, and I was fortunate enough to be able to work on some of the media pieces for summer final. I got to be in the interview room and help with those questions, and some people are really good at it. You can tell, like they're very comfortable with it, but other people are comfortable with that very intense setting. Because just to give you an idea, you're usually in this sound room that is, it's dark. There are, high, very bright lights on you. There's usually 2 cameras and a sound guy, and you just sit in this chair and you have these bright lights on you and the camera on you, and you get asked this question, and then you have to be your best. And it's not a comfortable environment, right? You're not going to see that true person's like personality through that. Oh, and there's a fog machine too, putting some nice fog in the background. So it's like,
of course, yeah,
sweet lights,
and some green light.
It's almost like an interrogation.
Some Legion.
I kept making the joke that we're interrogating players, but that's just how you shoot media pieces. And if we got to them at their house where they're comfortable, their own setup, they're not out of the country or
I feel like that would
in
work
this
for
weird
everyone,
interview
though.
room.
How many people are assholes that they really want to know?
Yeah, I mean, there's hit or miss, right?
That's always a challenge.
There's some hit or miss, but I think a majority of the WoW players, regardless of how they act online or whatever, are pretty good people, and I think they'd be, super interesting to get behind the scenes. So hopefully, I don't know. That's a project I have in mind, but if it's something that like the general broadcast team at Blizzard wants to do, I think that'd be awesome additions. Because again, like I'm interested in that personally. I like to see behind the scenes of anything. I mean, right now I'm watching HBO Hard Knocks, which is like behind the scenes like the Cleveland Browns at the training camp. Like I'm obsessed with that stuff. I watch all that kind of stuff. So if we could have more of that for our esports, I think it'd be awesome.
I'm going to say, I think if this is going to come to fruition, it's not going to be a Blizzard thing, because if it becomes a Blizzard product, it's going to be, again, it's going to be that high production stuff. I think to really get the grassroots stuff, it's going to have to be something more personal, something from the community, somebody who is willing to go out and get the reciprocation, right? Because and not everybody wants to be on camera unless they're like, you have to do this or else you can't compete.
Yep, that's the plan. That's what I have envisioned for a couple months now, and who knows? Well, I mean, there is some
cool.
Obviously, I don't have the time, but that is something I do want to do, because she is also our editor and post-production person, so we have that dialed down. Just need to have the time and cash flow, because plane tickets are slightly pricey.
No,
and also lodging. I don't know about staying at a player's house.
Yeah,
that's just so. But we'll see. That is something that I want to do at GCD personally, and if Blizzard takes out, it does something like that too, it'd be awesome. So that
I relate. Taco, what's one thing you would change about WoW esports?
Specifically WoW esports, definitely the stigma that there is. I think there's a huge I have a bunch of friends who I play video games with. None of them play WoW, and I've had the conversation with all of them of just them being interested in playing and wanting to play, but to them, just for playing so many years, to them it's like it's such a daunting task to start up in WoW again, and it's like, well, I don't even know what's relevant, and I have to do all this catching up. And to be honest, I feel like WoW is like the easiest it's been as far as like accessibility and jumping in. And I mean, like, I feel like we're missing out on a ton of people who are just like you said, watching it, maybe don't play it, but like would play it, but it just looks kind of crazy to start. So just the stigma on surrounding it and making it more like, open to anyone to just jump in.
Interesting. I find it very curious, considering how much every time there's an expansion, there's something new to learn. It's like they completely change everything. Except especially this expansion, like not a lot changed. They changed a few things, but they didn't change a lot. Yeah. Like
this one is, I feel like, is the easiest. If you haven't played in a while, this is like the time to jump in. I feel like I'm plugging for a while right now. Like everyone get in,
for sure.
It's true. Nothing's really changed. Even world quests are still. It feels like a page is turned and like nothing really has changed. And that's not even like bashing the game. It's just like it feels fluid and it feels like nice and you just need to worry about your character and gearing up, and hopefully next week when the arena starts.
I hope it's not next week.
At this point, I don't know.
I hope it's a day earlier. No, it has to be tomorrow. Hopefully. Come on, tomorrow. All right. Okay, so me personally, and this sounds a little goofy, and just listening to everything going on, the one thing I would like to change about WoW esports, and Elbareth, you kind of pointed this out, is now that we're not Legion, now there's not that as much green, and the ambiance of the stage can change again. Finally, I am looking forward to seeing some Kiltaran bouncers on the stage. Like even at BlizzCon, I would love to see like some big burly men, like with nice. Even like the guts sticking out, the whole thing, like just standing there, just being like, it doesn't have to be like all the BlizzCon, but even just like on that final stage, right? Like those guys that block you from being able to get into the actual start of the arena. I think that would be amazing.
I say I could probably try and pull that off. Maybe hit some illegal substances, maybe some steroids, and get huge.
Just get Bashira, dude.
But Starship, I think even with legal steroids, I don't think he's ever growing. He's a very skinny. He's a very skinny, tiny fella. So we might have to replace him if the admins are going to be the big brutally guards.
I was gonna say, I think it's gonna take at least like Bajura is there at least in muscle, but he's not there in like the burliness. He doesn't have the belly. Like he's gonna have to. He'll have to wait till he's 40 or something like that before that happens.
We can clone flappers. That's the plan. We'll get 2 flappers clones, maybe like change their haircuts and beards, and they can be the guards for the stage.
Too funny.
But yeah, no, that's an interesting thing. Having more RP elements in the actual, esports scene or at the stage, because I mean, let's be honest. This is a gorgeous game. It's a beautiful game lore-wise.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that's a unique advantage for us. We can take advantage of that.
I loved every quest that I've done so far.
Yeah. It's just like, so I know you were there at BlizzCon, so you saw that stage.
I did. It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous.
Along with Gamescom, I think that's one of the best stages we've done, and it appeals to the lore. It's a WoW stage. Like you can, like when you walk up to, you're like, oh, it's World of Warcraft. I get it.
Yep.
So, yeah.
There was no doubt, and it was. I remember when we first, because that was where we sat down for the opening sequence. We didn't make it to the main stage. We went to the.
Oh, by the way, that's
WoW
for
stage.
Anybody.
Yep.
Real quick, sorry to cut you off. For anybody going to BlizzCon for their first time. The WoW stage is the place to be for opening ceremonies. Unless you are the very first person in line, you're not going to make it to the main stage, and you're not going to miss anything. The WoW stage has all of it too, all the screens. Plus, you're there for a good seat when the arena starts right after. So, get to the WoW stage and plant your butt there. There's food everywhere. There's bathrooms. You're good. That's where you can hide out for the opening ceremonies. And
I didn't find out till day 2, but there's actually beer vendors on the side too. So you have food, you have beer, you have Arena WoW. Like, what more do you need?
Nothing. That is a perfect BlizzCon.
It is. All we need is just more pretzels to bring Zorbex over. Like, just entice him with the pretzels.
I'm excited because it is, aside from popular belief, Andallyn's first time going. Not cardboard Andallyn. Actual Andallyn's first time going.
Yes.
Ooh.
So, yes. I can't wait.
All right, guys. Let's finish this out. So, last but not least, we have the trivia question for this episode. The previous question was, what's the achievement we mentioned in our last episode that you can earn in the Battle for Gilneas Battleground? And the answer is the double rainbow. In fact, actually, Andallyn, you stopped actually the podcast for a second to mention this one. And so nobody emailed it. Well, sorry. One person emailed in. It almost took the 2 weeks. So congrats again to Bowen for being the first person to answer that question. And I did some back and forth with Bowen, and he was a little dismayed with the lack of response to the trivia question.
I cannot blame him.
So he's decided, out of his own personal goodness and his own pocket, he's going to up the ante. So instead of just sending in your email and us shouting you out, he's also going to provide a free month of WoW time. He's going to gift it to you.
Oof.
So, yeah.
Legendary.
So this episode's trivia question is going to be, this one might be a little bit easy, but we'll see who comes up with this one first. Name one of the 3 terraces found in Darnassus. Well, used to be found in Darnassus.
R.I.P.
Wait, so I'm just a guest.
Yeah.
What if I just email in right now?
Nope. No, you're disqualified.
If anybody wants an answer or 3, just DM me on Twitter at Elbareth11. You can split the winnings 50-50.
Half a month each. 15 days. All right. So into the shout outs. I want to first shout out RyCP. We talked about him before. Phenomenal guy. He has helped out the podcast immensely off the bat. He did a bunch of the graphics and everything, along with the sound intro and outros. He helped me a bunch to get started out. And knowing that BfA just launched, he also helped out by just out of his own heart, because he does graphic design on the side. He generated a new iTunes graphic for us. So you may have noticed it on the last episode. I waited until it actually got published and everything. So I want to give a shout out to him for doing that for us. I didn't even ask him, out of his kind of his heart. He's like, hey, did this for you. Boom. Here you go. Thank you very much. And dude, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate. The other thing I want to do is just, again, shout out Bowen for gifting that free month of WoW to help support the trivia question. Did anybody else have any shout outs you want to provide?
Well, obviously, shout out to you guys for having me on the podcast. I love what you guys are doing, and I love that it's stepping up, dude. The production quality is stepping up. This little thing you got on the program is sweet. I've been impressed that I've been clicking around as you guys have been talking. Mm-hmm. So yeah, shout out to you guys. Shout out to my team at GCD. I love all of you guys. You guys know that. Shout out to everybody I work with at WoW Esports. Mm-hmm. Shout out to the MLG homies. Yeah, but yeah, that's all.
Thanks, dude.
Nice.
Andallyn, Taco, any shout outs?
I don't know. I think I'll give a quick shout out to. I think I was going to do it at this point because I know when we talked about replacing some of the Legion green, someone who's been instrumental in helping us, but someone who doesn't work with us as closely anymore because she's doing her own things is Kalandra. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to her because I know I think she's the one most person who has despised Legion green more so than anyone.
I can attest to that.
So yeah, I'll give a shout out to her.
Oh, that's awesome. All right,
follow her WoW Esports Live.
Yes,
Twitter account. It's awesome. Well, I never miss, but like for people that can't watch live, that is your place to go. You can get all the updates.
Indeed. Yeah, I've actually followed. There's a couple times when I had to walk away from the live stream and go out and do IRL stuff, as horrendous as that is. But at least I know that I can just bring up Kalandra's stream there on at WoW Esports, and I can follow along whatever's going on with the current tournament that day. So. All right. Well, I guess that's about that.
WoW Esports Live, correct?
At WoW Esports Live. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Got that.
All right. So I guess Andallyn, Taco, can one of you guys list off where our listeners can reach us?
Yeah, absolutely. You could tweet the podcast at technicallypvp on Twitter, or you can email us at technicallypvp@gmail.com. Oh,
awesome.
Shoot, I did that to you, Taco. My bad, dude.
Hey guys, it's okay. It's on the fly. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Winstead, or thanks, Andallyn. Oh wow.
Oh whoa. All right.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Andallyn. And also, since Winstead's not here, I'll finish off his stuff. You can visit our blog for individual contact information at technicallypvp.wordpress.com. A link for that is going to be in our show notes, along with a link for our Discord. So go there and connect with us. By all means, we'd love to see you. Last but not least, actually, I forgot to put that in the show notes. We do also have a WoW Communities, and that is also available through our show notes. All right, you guys have a great night. Thank you all for listening, and take care, all. Good night.
Adios.
Take it easy.
Bye.
You can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, or directly from the RSS feed at libsyn.com. Please give us some reviews on Apple Podcasts, good or bad. It helps us know what we're doing well or poorly and helps others find the podcast. This has been a presentation of Technically PvP Podcast 2018.